Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and I want to welcome back a guest of mine, Mr. the Gorilla, Corey West. Corey, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. The reason why I got you on the show is that there's a lot of questions I want to ask. I mean, you had a heroic showing over at East First West number 6, but I had to ask you a question. One of them was like, and I'm gonna get right to the thick of it. Is there any carryover pros and cons when you pull two matches, one on each arm, but you pull on a high level like that?
I'll never do it again, ever.
So, what was the experience? Because I've done it before, but not obviously on that kind of stage where you did. And I'm wondering after you beat, Ferret or Farid, did that drain everything out of you when you pulled RF?
I'm not just gonna sit here and make a bunch of excuses about it. It was a poor judgment on my part to do so, and that's kind of all I'll say about it. He was the better man in that moment on that day.
Right. I mean, because you had
But
everybody in your corner, and it
yeah,
just seemed like you're just like, okay. I mean, were you gassed out? I mean, how did it all unfold?
it was just hard to get back to that level in the moment. Like it was like the adrenaline's not the same. No matter no matter if it is a different arm, there's some muscle groups that are shared there, back and different things that are hard to get fully engaged again. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Fareed was probably one of the toughest matches I've ever had. It was a level of exhaustion that I hadn't reached before.
Right. And I only asked that because we've seen this before on the East First West stage where we saw Emrys Gasparini when he pulled Dave Chafee and he put all his eggs in that basket. And then he still had to pull the left-handed match versus Morozov, and that didn't work out too well. So it made me think that I'm like, And I'm always wondering when people do the same thing at the King of the Table with Ryan Bowen, how he waited till Schoolboy had lost to Khalid. Then Khalid, same event, maybe a couple matches later, pulling a fresher man. But
That
even
was
though that was
same.
on the
That
same
was
arm,
same arm too, though. That was crazy. I would never do that.
yeah. Well, I think his ego got bigger than his,
Uh,
pride, whatever. But I'm looking at it, kind of going, okay. It just seemed like you had you gassed out, but it also seemed like you were like mentally like frustrated. That's the body language I read. Is that accurate or no?
yeah, I mean, again, just some of the it to me, it seemed like there were some early starts. That weren't called, but that's beside the point. I was frustrated that I just couldn't get as tight and locked down as I usually do. Like usually, I have enough posting pressure through my lat and my back and everything just being tight to
Right.
slow the match down and make it about power. And it's like nothing would lock back up, and my back was kind of cramping up whenever I'd try to lock it. It just wasn't a smart decision on my part.
Well, here's another thing, and I don't want to sit there and just start, crapping all over the refereeing, but there was quite a few referee decisions that kind of didn't go well for us. Us as in Team West. I think Chance had a couple issues with his matches. Obviously, you did, Michael did, Jerry did, and it made me wonder. I'm thinking, okay, how was the reffing there as opposed to when you pull at a maybe East for I'm sorry, King of the Table when you pull Alex Prodeka?
Um, Pretty similar in those two. I mean, they were both. I don't know. I don't honestly. I don't want to.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But I will say this though. When you guys had the press conference, and for me, that's exciting for me to watch the press conference the night before. But do you guys go over a rules meeting? That way everyone's on the same page?
We had a rules meeting the day of the event, about
Okay.
4 hours, 3 or 4 hours before the event started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's like, I know every a big event has that kind of stuff. And I was kind of wondering because there were some calls I was kind of going, I even like turned my head going, really? But like I said, I don't want to sit there and make it about the refs because everyone tuned in to watch the athletes and not the refs. But what's now? I know who I would like to see you pull next, but I don't know if you can announce or anything. But what do you have coming up next?
You there? You kind of froze up.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what match do you have coming up next, or who would you like to pull next?
Um, I know Michael has another Monster Factory card coming up at some point. I'm sure that there'll be some discussion there. And I've talked to Adam a couple times. You know, there's a lot of interest from the king of the table wanting to give me a shot against Morozov, left-handed. Aside from that, I really just going to take probably the next 3 months and just try to. I got hooked up with a guy that does like meal prep service, and he's going to fully take care of my, not for free or anything, but you know he's helping me out on a full diet, every meal, every week, prepared for the next 3 months.
Nice. And like I said, here's the thing. So I would love to see you pull Morozov. I think that's going to be the next opponent for you. That's just my opinion. I'm guessing, but after Morozov doing damage and then taking some time off, and then okay, it's only fitting because at the last Monster Factory you beat Cody Merritt, and it's like okay, seems like you and Morozov are on this collision course, and I'm thinking okay, here it is, and now we just got to wait for it to be set. But I would love to see that matchup. How do you think? What are your chances going into that match? You think you have?
Man, I don't know. Fareed was a style that I hadn't competed against. I got very fortunate that I was able to. I've never pressed anybody.
Right.
It's not my lane. But it was a lane that seemed like it had the least resistance whenever whenever I realized that the way he set up real low in my hand and his wrist was very forward and it was hard, he was too down, had a really big hand. It was hard to get outside with him. And when I realized that that wasn't a lane and that I was just going to have to go in and try to get a really good position deep inside with him and figure it out from there, it just kind of happened that way. I didn't even know I had the lane like that. So
when the press move is not actual, a move that a lot of people use. But I will say it's one of those moves where it's a break glass in case of emergency. We've seen Dave Chafee. I've never seen Dave Chafee press in my entire life, but when he had to against Vitali, then it was there. Just like yourself, you said, okay, this is not the normal for me, but when given an opportunity, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I got to do, exploit that lane, and go ahead and take that pin. So yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. But as far as Morozov goes, I mean, I don't know. I never felt his pressure. I know he's got a big hand. He's a super strong guy. A lot of people think because I got through Cody easier than him that makes it seem like I should be able to beat him. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think he's going to have a bunch of tools that I'm probably, again, just not used to. And I'm just going to have to try to figure it out. Hope that I have enough, center of the table strength or strength somewhere to make the match stop and at least be able to work towards, being able to continue to or potentially win.
Well, with your training regimen, I'm sure you and Michael will come up with a game plan for him, if and when that match does get scheduled and stuff. So I don't see any issues with that, but I think by you taking, a different route as far as, hey, you hired somebody, dietitian, that kind of thing, and you're really going to make waves. I am so excited to see that match when it does happen, though. But so are you at a position now where you can just sit back and just train, rest, and then you wait for a call? Is that how this works out with you?
Man, as far as the arm wrestling stuff goes, there's usually, I'm usually getting messages far enough in advance that I kind of have a schedule set, and know what I plan on doing. And I just kind of try to take time off whenever it seems fit and go from there. But the last year and a half, I've been pretty fortunate, just kind of taking what And I've pulled some tournaments, especially some that paid out really well. Just kind of showed up last minute and won some money and went home.
Hey, you're a celebrity now, man. You are the future for USA when it comes to the super heavies now. So you're the guy. You are the guy. And I know you and I talked about this, what, a year ago, a year and a half ago, when I had you on the first time, and we were talking about the world rankings and where do you guys sit at. And I think now, this is before East versus West even came, was thought of, and it was the Derek Smith, Chance Shaw, Corey West. All three of you guys are going to meet at the mountain. But what I've seen so far with the East versus West, I know it's kind of put everything on hold as far as those talks go. Do you agree or disagree?
I still think those guys and some other guys in the States are still on a great trajectory. Again, I'd gladly pull anybody whenever, but yeah, it seems like we've all become a lot less focused on one another and a little more focused on being able to compete overseas for sure.
Which is great because, when I saw you in your match and you had, Travis in your corner, Michael, you had Chance in your corner, I'm thinking, okay, it's almost like, whatever, matches between us, put them aside. We're going to join forces. We're trying to try to get this win because it's for, Team West. And so I do like that kind of thing. So I'm excited. Now, here's a question. Do you really sit there and examine or when you watch other people's matches, how invested are you? So when you saw Chance, pull over the weekend, how invested are you?
I was really pulling for Chance. I really thought he had it won too. I mean, it's another one of those matches where I don't particularly think that it came down to who was the better opponent, and it did kind of get murky on some calls, and it was unfortunate.
Yeah. And then, like I said, that's one of those deals where it's kind of like, okay, I know the guy that trained me always kind of taught me that, hey, when you go to these tournaments and you're in uncharted waters, always arrive at the table like you already got one foul. That way you kind of stay in control. But sometimes it's uncomfortable to do that when you feel like, hey, I didn't fly across, the pond to have this kind of outcome, So I mean, and I get all that, but but we just want to say we're real proud of you, what you did over there. And you know what? And even me and my teammates were watching the show at practice, and we're like going, you know what? Corey doesn't need to hang his head after that right-handed match. He did what he had to do against Farid, got the win, and now it's only a matter of time before, you get a call. Here's Ingen. Hey, are you ready for Morozov now? But then again, you said that may happen at King of the Table. So tell us,
Yeah,
you've been on both shows before. Tell us the difference between those two.
Not a ton of difference. And from what I'm being told, potentially there's a little bit of a chance. Larry moved back to the States. I don't know how true it is or not, but I've heard that there may even be some of those in the States, which would be amazing to not have to travel halfway across the world to pull Europeans.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be real. With these big, why are we North America? Why we always have to travel over there, whether it be Dubai, Turkey, and it's like going, all they got to do is take a bus ride and they're there. And, we have to deal with all the jet lag and all that kind of stuff. And got to arrive there a few days early so you can get accustomed to what's going on over there. Yeah, that'd be nice to have that event here in the States for a change. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it'd be very nice.
Yeah. So, are we ever going to see you on a world stage as far as like a WAF or IFA or anything like that?
It hasn't piqued my interest very much. I'm not saying you won't. I just hadn't even really thought about it. I just,
I did have a question, and when I posted on social media that you're going to be on the show, I had a message, and the question for you was because, hey, if you don't know, what kind of car do you have, Corey? Because I know you love your cars.
Are you talking about my race car or my truck or
Race car?
I had a couple of them and I sold one recently, but I've still got a 17 Camaro SS. It's a real purpose built car. It's used to be a world record holder. It will be a world record holder again. And it's just just kind of a niche thing. It's an all motor LT base cars. It's one of the fastest in the world at what it is.
Gotcha. Are you aware of Luke Kent's car by chance?
Yeah, he's got a Chevelle. Chevelle.
Okay, so the question was posed. I was supposed to ask you on the show, so here it is. Whose car would win in a quarter-mile race between you two?
I don't know what Luke's runs, or what kind of. Again, like I said, we're just all motor stuff. So, as far as the grand scheme of, fast and race cars, there's lots of people that make a lot more power. We're doing a lot with a little. I mean, I've got a ton of money invested, and it's a super cool car, but it's still just a ton of compression and some high octane fuel. It's not turbo or nitrous or anything where you are pushing crazy horsepower.
Right. So here's a question. So now that we're not we, but you, now that you're getting these calls to go to these big promotions and stuff, does that alter your training by any means? Like before you started getting calls to go to East First West and King of the Table, was your training a lot different prior to all that?
No, it's pretty similar. The only thing that really alters it is if Michael's healthy or traveling or any of that stuff. If he's here, I make more trips there to train with him directly. If he's not, then everything's just pretty much on my own.
Right. And you have a gym too, right? In your home?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. Because
I've got.
I enjoy when you make the trip over to the factory, and that's another event I like, and you've been there a few times. Tell everybody what's that atmosphere like? Because I am scheduled to be there at the next one, May 6th. So I'm just kind of curious, what's the atmosphere like there?
It's great for me because I don't have to travel. I mean, I just, like you said earlier, I just get in a vehicle and drive a hour or so, and
Right.
that makes it super nice for me because I get to sleep in my own bed and go home that night. But it's good. It's been real fun every time I've been there. There's not a ton of people there because limited space, but it's a good atmosphere. There's a ton of after pulling, usually some super awesome, interesting matches, and yeah, it's been great.
So give us some insight. What's the after pulling like? Because I've watched every Monster Factory event, and I'm always saying, what's the after pull like? So give us some insight. I mean, because you got the matches, right? Matches are all said and done, and now, of course, what we all look forward to after every tournament is the after pull. Let everybody know out in the chat, like what's that one like?
They're always huge. I mean, there's usually way more tables than most after pulls. I think these usually got 5 or 6 tables set up. Right. So it's really just like a huge practice. And a lot of times, John's been there and Paul's been there a bunch. Pablo, everybody just kind of gets to jump all over everybody.
And how many people are pulling you aside? Corey, come here. Let me
that hand. I'm getting less and less in the after pull. After pull. It seems like I almost if I get tweaked up, it's almost always in the after pulls.
Right.
If I've competed, it's just hard to. It's just hard. I don't know, something about the adrenaline and redlining and doing everything max and then letting everybody jump all over you. It just hard on you.
So when are we going to start seeing you doing some seminars?
I have never been asked to do. No, I did do a seminar with Travis one time. It was
you did
fun.
One in Texas. I was there.
Yeah, it was fun. It's not anything I've ever even thought about it since, to be honest.
Right.
I have hard enough time getting off to do everything I want to do. So unless it's somewhat beneficial, it's kind of difficult to just try to get the extra time off work.
So your partner in crime just chimed in. He says, "Hey, buddy, watching while I'm training to crack that wrist." So there you go. Monster is in the house. What's up, Monster? Glad you're back training. So, what was your take back from his match?
again, it just seemed like some of the reffing could have been a little biased. I think he really, it just, once they called him on a couple of the calls and he got super upset, because, one of them they even took back. Even though he got it back, people still don't realize what that does to your like headspace and your
Yeah, your psyche.
adrenaline. And yeah, like, um, and then the one where they called him for the humerus below, super controversial.
I'm
They
still
went,
trying to figure that one out. Actually, I was the good thing about these events. Once you order them, if you hit the favorite button, the little yellow gold star, you can watch them, replay them, and watch them back anytime you want to. So I'm still trying to figure out, like what the hell they're calling. I'm thinking, did I miss something? I had to replay it over and over and go, what are they talking about? What did I miss? I had to do it like in slow motion, and I couldn't see what they were talking about. I really couldn't.
yeah. And it's unfortunate because, even what they, even whenever they showed him what he, not on the recording, but on the table, they were like, oh, well, this is what you did. And it was super micro, what they were claiming he had done.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that really bothered me about that is whenever Jerry and Georgie pulled, Georgie, if you go back and watch it, super great guy, amazing competitor, did an amazing job. But because of the way he was pulling Jerry and he was dropping below the table, he had so many times where Jerry was actually able to force the match back to the center of the table
Mm-hmm.
and stop Georgie in that position. And then Georgie would continue to drop and rotate, and his humerus would be way, way below. And, the match was still neutral, which they said neutral or losing was
Right.
an immediate loss.
And
So, it was crazy to me that, that he didn't catch any of those fouls in some pretty severe positions.
well, safety for number one, because you don't want anybody to get hurt. We've seen it. We already seen that. We've seen Gasparini get injured. We saw Porkchop get injured. We saw Babayev get injured. So yeah, you don't want to have any injuries. But for Pete's sake, for something like that, it's like call it, stop it, do what you got to do, but don't allow it to happen. Where in other matches, it's like you kind of turn a blind eye or whatever the case may be. But I just thought that I was kind of crazy, but hopefully the referees will kind of get geared up and stuff. So upcoming next, I need your thoughts because I'm just kind of curious from your point of view. The next East vs. West, I believe February 25th. If you guys are counting at home, of course the main event will be John Brzezinski, Denis Saplinkov. It's co-main events actually. That's one of them. What are your thoughts with that?
I I don't know where Dennis's level is at. Obviously, he um, looked really good after pulling with Alex Herdecha, and I mean, I think we have a pretty good idea. John's level's high. I mean, he might have lost to Irakli and Ungerbayev. Both those guys are studs. It's hard to say. Um, it's hard to say. I hope John pulls it out.
Yeah, it's weird because I forgot the guy who was pulling, starts with a Z. He pulled, Saplinkov, and he was looking strong, but he had no stamina. But I really can't take too much of that footage and like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Zaire.
well, yeah, yeah. I can't take too much of that footage and take it to light as far as what's going on with that. Now, this goes back to my earlier question about pulling two matches in one day. Now, on a high scale, like where you guys are competing at, what's your thoughts on pulling back-to-back months? And I'll give you two examples. One was Craig Tooley at the Monster Factory, right? Pulling Brandon Elsesser, and then all of a sudden now he has to pull David. And I'm thinking, was that enough time in between events to heal and be 100% healthy?
So Craig was in a definite war with Brandon. As I would say, 4 weeks is enough time as long as you didn't have anything tweaked.
Right.
Um, I think 4 is the minimum. pretty much though. 2 is not enough. I've done 2.
Right.
It's not enough.
And I say that because, okay, here we are. John Brzezinski and Arachley, they went the distance. And now he has Saplinkov coming up. And so on my show earlier this week, and actually Ryan Espy and I have a show we do every Monday morning. We are kind of touching base on that. It almost seemed like, and I was like, kind of like I got sucker punched in the stomach watching that Brzezinski match against Arachley. And I'm like going, John, did you really just kind of give one away? It's almost like he wasn't serious. But at the same time, we all know Dennis was there in attendance, and he knows that, hey, I'm pulling you next month on the 25th. And then after the fact, what I thought, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? John probably thought, hey, you know what? Dennis is watching, I don't want to give out too much. Okay, no big deal. What are your thoughts of that?
I definitely don't think John laid down. I think probably more than anything, it seemed like Arachley kind of found a lane. I did think John had it. I thought he had it, but I don't know. I didn't talk to John about it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if he was still at 100% either. He's had some stuff going on, but aside from that, I mean, I don't think he was having a little trouble breathing still. He was definitely exhausted at the end. He's had some sickness, respiratory type stuff. So who knows if that would have made a difference.
Right. So now you heard it. It was announced the other day out of nowhere. Arm Wars, dark match. It's the dark one, right? Sandris and Devin Larratt. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's going to be a tough match for Sandris, I think.
And here I see video after video after video. I'm thinking, all right, let me just test him out. Devin's putting it. Actually, Devin kind of mentioned it when he's at Arm Gods in Ireland a couple weeks ago. And he was kind of like tiptoeing around about who he want to pull next. I'm thinking, okay, what's he talking about? I'm thinking, okay, something's going on. The next thing you know, here's Neil. Oh, by the way, and actually Neil had them both on his show. And they're kind of going back and forth. And now, boom, hey, it's announced. It's on Arm Wars. I'm thinking, all right, that's cool. I'm just wondering if there's going to be more matches. But yeah, that'll be coming up next month also. So I'm thinking, Devin, this is the time where he can do this. I think he can do this. I think he will actually get the W. That's just my opinion. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Devin would be the favorite. He's a tough guy to compete against.
Mentally, physically, all the above.
Yeah. I mean, I think just the whole thing is hard to approach with him.
Right. Well, here's a question. So we know who you want to pull, left hand. What's in store for you, right hand? If you could talk about it, or who would you like to pull right-handed?
I really want to pull a reef again now.
Oh, hey. There was nothing saying that you can't make that happen again. I would love to see part 2 of that.
And I hate it. I apologize to Ingen, and I hate it for him worse than anybody because, he was the better guy in that moment. He was 100%. Like, I'm not saying that I could beat him. I'm not saying he couldn't beat me if I was fresh, but now everybody just wonders, like he showed up and competed and done what he needed to do. And, he didn't really gain much from it because everybody just was like, well, what if Corey been fresh?
Yeah, I would love to see matches where it's not, but. Yeah.
And again, that's not Ingen's fault. Ingen told me it was a bad idea. I asked for it. He said, okay. It was 100% my fault, and I made a mistake.
Hey, don't worry, because I tell you what, I know for a fact the next time you guys hook up again on the table, first of all, Corey, please don't take another match the same day. But I know for a fact that if you're fresh for fresh, it might be a different story. You know what I mean?
I know that I could at least get the stop. I don't have a question about that. From there, I I don't have a lot of it. Even in the last match, where I got to stop, and it did feel like his power was very manageable. It was
Right.
more speed than it was power, but I could be totally wrong on that because it was in such a weird position, um, opened up that who knows.
Right. I got one more question, and this is, I love talking to athletes who actually participate in two different promotions. The difference, I think I asked you again, but I want to really break it down. The difference between the East versus West, because one, you got to train for best of 5 if it gets to that point. Whereas King of the Table, hey, you're doing 6 rounds no matter what. Does that mean you got to train different also? Because one is like, hey, if I'm down 4-0, I still got 2 more matches. Or how is that mentally going in an event like that as opposed to like, okay, your standard best of 5?
Um, Not a lot different for me, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You're both wearing out, at similar paces most of the time. Like everybody said that Arif was this, you know, stamina guy. Like they told me if I got in a war with him, that it wouldn't go my way. And then, we got in a war and it went my way. So, I mean, um, sometimes it may look like I don't, and I know I don't. I mean, I weigh 400 plus pounds. I know I don't have the best endurance, but I also don't think I have anywhere close to the worst endurance. So, um, yeah, I just train similar pretty much all the time. We'll see how this hopefully end up somewhere in the mid to high, mid-ish 300s and see what that feels like endurance wise.
And you say you're 400 right now?
Oh no, I said over 400. I weighed 431.8 the morning I started the nutrition.
Gotcha. So hopefully, and you want to shoot for 350 pounds, yes? Let's just say
Yeah, somewhere close to there.
if we got you down there and you are still to attain that power and that strength, can you imagine the heads you be cracking in these matchups? Because now it's like, okay, I'm not bringing the extra 80 pounds here. I'm actually bringing 80 pounds less, which means you're more agile, maybe more explosive. And it's like going, okay, my stamina's pretty good for a big guy, but guess what? I'm not carrying an extra 80 pounds. Let's go. You know,
The
um,
thing, the thing about it is, it's and I've heard Michael say this before, and it's 100% accurate. There are people that have better endurance than me, no doubt, but I've been carrying this size since I was a child. 12, 13 years old. So it's not like I don't know. It just feels normal. Like not saying I could go run a marathon or anything like that, but it doesn't. I don't feel restricted by it in most scenarios.
well, that's good because I'm not picking on Jerry, but after watching Jerry and Georgie, and I think the microphone, the mics they had more airtime than they did, because I was just like, I was concerned. There's a lot of heavy breathing. I don't really, see that from you. I'm thinking, okay, Corey can get in there and burn with the best of them. So I kind of like that, and also like the fact that everyone's saying you cannot be top rolled. That's what I hear. You cannot. Everybody was saying it on the show, how it's hard to top roll Corey because of the width of his hand, the strength that he has. Once you get that cup, it is next to impossible to try to crack that and try to go ahead and try to pronate out of that hook that you got. So you think that's accurate?
I don't know that it's accurate yet. I think I'll get there one day.
Oh, I mean, dude, it trust me, it's there. I mean, never, sell yourself short. But I'm so excited for these upcoming matches. I like to see you running back with Kradeka at one point, sometime soon.
Yeah, I'd love to pull Alex again.
I mean, you've had your victories over SB and and all the other guys and Cody Merritt, Fareed, and the list goes on. And we're all just sitting there waiting to say, hey, either East versus West or King of the Table, give us what we want, give the fans what we want, and that's Corey West and Morozov for the left-handed championship. That's what we all want.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think it'll happen. I just got to be patient. wait my turn.
All right, just be patient, stay healthy, please. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, Corey, my man, this is a short and sweet because I know I want to. You're probably getting ready for supper or whatnot, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut you loose. But I do want to thank you for giving me a small window of your time so we can go ahead and kind of conduct this interview. I'm excited to have you back on, and hopefully we can do it again down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime, buddy.
All right, take care, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, later.
Take care.